Hello, students. I hope you are doing well. Today, we'll be moving to block three, that is international marketing strategies. So, the block describes the international marketing strategies and how international marketers design their marketing strategy. It also describes the product life cycle and its significance in the marketing plan. In our earlier classes, we have understood about international product life cycle. Now we'll also be understanding in terms of its significance in the overall company's marketing plan. We'll also be talking about a general management orientation versus a fluctuation orientation. And this also consists of the decisions that a company takes in terms of its business prospects. So, first, we'll be covering today Unit 7, that is International Marketing Planning. So, Unit 7 focuses on international marketing planning, and the most important aspects that we'll be covering, the highlights of today's session, are in terms of objectives. Understand how international marketers design their marketing strategy, which includes product, pricing, promotion, and place, the four P's or marketing mix. We'll also be talking about the product life cycle and its significance in the product marketing plan and discuss about the competitive international markets and the consumer behavior in that market. We'll also understand in terms of the government's international marketing planning. So, in terms of the structure, we'll be deep diving into each of these headings in more detail in today's session. So let us first start with understanding what is this entire topic all about. So a marketing function supports other business functions and it ensures the success of an organization. And how is that? Because fundamentally, if we are not looking at the opportunities, we are not looking at a systematic approach to address well defined market segments, then it's naturally going to percolate back to the company's success and its revenue and profit making. So, marketing planning is very, very crucial as a process, and it consists of identifying what to do, to whom to sell in the long term so as to meet sales targets. So most companies equate planning process with forecasting and budgeting methods. However, we need to understand that that is only the operational aspect of the company. We also need to understand what are the other avenues available to us for future growth. One of the reasons why businesses grow into international markets is because of this long term business growth strategy. So, the following problems occur when organizations rely solely on forecasting and budgeting. There can be missed opportunities, unrealistic objectives, market information that is not useful in decision making, numbers in long range plans that convey little information and growth opportunities, management frustration, pricing confusion, and also increased vulnerability to environmental changes. And like we have been covering in the past, and whenever we talk about environment, we are talking about both macro and micro environment, that is external and internal environment. However, the focus when we are talking internationally is largely on the external environment, a number of moving pieces which are there, which are beyond our control. For example, the host country, that is the domestic country's rules and regulations, trade barriers, other tax regulations, the level of investment, the criteria for a business beyond its shores. Similarly, when we go to international market, what are the government's policies? What are the opportunities available? Are there any state-run agents or distributors that we have to work with, particularly when the products are highly governed? And also uh, of equal importance is the consumer behavior, which is a little unknown to the company. In a local market, they may have already experienced certain kind of consumer behavior and expect that to be replicated in the international market. But that is not necessarily so, because the demographics, the culture, the socio-political factors all vary highly between one country to another country. There are also number of legal ramifications that we need to consider. So, in terms of the strategies, we say a firm formulates it on the basis of its capabilities and opportunities in the market. So, financial objectives are a good measure of the desired performance of a company, isn't it? We know clearly on the books whether the company is making a profit or not, but they do not help in identifying strategies that match the firms currently followed by the company. What are their structured thought process? What are the relevant market segments? What is the collection, analysis, and synthesis of market data? Because all that is not captured in a financial document. So, therefore, it is not sufficient to just rely on books, the balance sheet, to determine if a company is successful or not. We also need to look at a number of other factors of the local market, that is the host country's market, to understand how big will a company grow, what are the opportunities that are available to us. Is this something that is aligned with our company's policies, our vision and mission? Are we having sufficient marketing strategies in place to address these opportunities? So, the factors that we need to understand here are multifold. So let us first look at in terms of strategic marketing planning. So marketing planning is a logical sequence, right? Because you need to go through it step by step, and each step is equally critical in ensuring a company's success, not only in the international market, but even in the domestic market as well. And it also consists of a series of activities. So, marketing plan, though we say plan, it is not one single activity, it is a series of activities which lead to the attainment of marketing objectives and the formulation of plans for achieving them. So, strategic marketing planning needs more than a general management orientation. It requires a functional orientation. And what is this functional orientation? It consists of different functions. What is defining the business, determining the goals, the objectives of business, formulating strategies, the budgeting, and so on. So, once some measures of performance, such as market share, return on investment, and profit to sales ratios, are defined, broader goals and specific objectives are identified for the business. And the next step involves allocation of human resources to be able to achieve these functional plans. So each of the activities is a function by itself. So marketing planning, when we say is a series of activities, we mean it is a series of different functions all brought together for a specific purpose, that is the company's long-term objective and growth. So, research studies have indicated that the companies that do not have integrated, coordinated, and internally consistent plan for marketing activities generally fail to captivate substantial market share because they are not looking at the big picture. They are not looking at who are the competitors, what are the macro and micro elements, or what is the market opportunity, what is the consumer behavior, what is the socio cultural expectations, what is the political legal constraints that are applying on the company for its growth. Only when a company takes a holistic view of all these factors will it eventually grow in a long term basis. So, the benefit of marketing plans include A, active coordination among individuals in the organization whose actions are interrelated over time. An example of this is production and sales. Now, if sales agrees to a certain supply of goods and services and the production department is unable to match that, then definitely there is going to be a failure in the long run because the consumers' expectations are not being met, falsification is being done, where the companies are, overcommitting and undersupplying. So these are all going to be major issues that the company has to address, not just in the long run, but in the very, very short run as well. So, if a company has to be realistic and only give commitment to what is actually possible, what is actually producible, then it has to be in close interaction with other departments. For example, if we are making plans for certain industrial products to travel abroad and the finance department says that there is no budget available, now you have set up consumer meetings, customer meetings internationally. You have made your travel plans, but then the finance is not allowing for it because there has been no budgeting made for it prior to the commitment or in the beginning of the year, the financial year. So there is a mismatch that happens. That is why we say active coordination among individuals in the organization, because there is an interrelatedness about their tasks over a period in time. Second is anticipation of future developments. How is the market growing? What is the potential? Are we going to stay with only one host country? Are we looking to expand to other trading blocks, or are we looking to expand within the same trading block? We spoke about NATO as a trading bloc or APAC as Asia Pacific as a trading bloc. So, readiness to face challenges over a period in time and enhanced communication among executives, and also very critically, minimization of any conflicts. So, what is the pricing strategy that is available to us? So, international pricing decisions are based on multiple factors, just like it is in the local condition. However, there are certain other elements that apply. For example, the international taxation rules, the trading barriers, when we have to bring back the money to our home country, then what are the kind of regulations that happen? What kind of credit facilities that need to be extended to the wholesalers or retailers abroad? So, or if it is big customers who are buying directly, then what are the credit lines as well? So multiple factors need to be considered. So it could be in terms of the pricing objectives, the cost, the competition, the customer demand, and government requirements. In an empirical study, it was found that the total cost is the most important element in the uh, determination of the price of a product. However, there are other important factors that need to be also considered, like the competitors' pricing policies, the company's out of pocket costs, we just talked about, traveling internationally, its return on investment policy, what is the ROI that the company is expecting, the customer's ability to pay, etc. So the companies follow primarily two approaches in this calculation. The first is known as the cost approach, the second is known as the market approach. So let us try to understand what each of these are and how they help to determine the total cost of the product. First is the cost approach. So the cost approach is used in determining the actual relevant costs. The desired profit markup is added to the relevant costs to identify total costs. So it is very, very simple process in a way. So we are saying what is our total cost in producing X amount of goods, and if that way it's so, we what is the markup that we can apply on the cost of each of these products or goods, and that determines the cost plus the markup determines the cost approach. So it is, like we said, easier to comprehend and use. And also, over a period in time, it provides a very stable price because the cost of product production is more or less stationary after a period in time, one certain break-in point is achieved. But there are two broad drawbacks to this approach. One, whether to consider fixed costs and variable costs together, or do we only consider variable costs? For example, fixed costs like building, infrastructure, office setup, all these would be a part of the machinery, factory, all these would be a part of the fixed costs. And what are the variable costs? Think incidental expenses, salaries, travel, and other items which are not generally in the day-to-day operational costs. So, which of the two do we need to consider? Do we need to consider fixed and variable together or only variable costs? And if fixed costs are included, what fraction of fixed costs are to be included? Because for every product that we produce, we cannot say that I will take the total fixed cost and add it to my product cost. In a very simple term, let us say if a building is going to cost us, the office setup is going to cost us 10 lakhs monthly. We are not in a position to add all those 10 lakhs to the cost of the product. Why? Because if you have to take in terms of the other fund departments that are existing in the same building, other activities that are being governed in the same building, the management costs, there are multiple other factors that need to be considered. So, what we do is typically we try to break it down into a more realistic approach in terms of what are the fixed costs that can actually be added, and if they have to be added, what is the percentage of these costs that we need to add. It could be a 5% or it could be a 10%, it could be just a 1% ratio, depending on both the costs that are applicable, the number of units that are being sold, and we should not forget that we are also looking at both the domestic and international marketing. So the pricing will vary from domestic to international marketing. So we need to understand that the cost also contribute to the domestic production of goods and services as well as the international supply of goods and services. Third, we should also consider costs in terms of R&D and administrative costs. So, for example, the administrative department, the suppliers who are working in the company along with the purchase department or the procurement department, the marketing department, the finance department, the human resource department. So there are many such departments. So we have to consider whether all these administrative costs along with the R&D or the research and development costs also need to be included in the costing approach. The second one is the market approach. Now, this is done exactly in opposition to the cost approach. So, what is fundamentally considered here is what is the acceptable price as per the target market. What is the target segment determining? So, it could be in terms of the price is analyzed to see whether it can meet the company's profit objectives. Now, if the target pricing is so low that it does not even meet the cost of the production, the company has two considerations over there. One, can I, over a period in time, reduce the cost of my product and thereby ensure that even my international product and the sales there will make a profit? Or number two, I'll also be understanding in terms of whether I'm able to cut down costs, or third, is it worthwhile that I introduce my product at a lower price, though it is not making profit in the initial stages, and hope to break even over a point in time, either by selling more number of units or increasing the pricing of my product eventually. So these are factors that need to be considered. So the adjustments in prices also have to be made in terms of what are the competitors offering, the host country government demands, and other eventualities that may occur. For example, if there are certain weather conditions or there are other factors that need to be considered, the point is that these may also disrupt the supply of the goods and services. For example, there are perishable items that we are supplying internationally, and there is a thunderstorm or a hail or some kind of embargo on certain products at the port of entry, then definitely our products are not going to reach the consumers in time. So that means that in spite of our best efforts, there are certain eventualities or certain catastrophes which would disrupt the supply of products and services, and would therefore mean a loss to the company. So this also means that the company has to consider such factors also in place. There could also be conditions where the customer refuses to take the product in question because they say that the quality that has been committed and the quality that has been supplied are not matching. This, if you see, happens a lot in apparel. There is a huge market in India as well where there are a lot of export rejects that are sold off at a very cost or minimal price because the company has already incurred a huge loss on those products. So they're trying to recover it by selling it at a low price in the domestic market. So this market approach is widely used in Japan. A typical firm examines what is the likely competitors, what are the products, what are the pricings, even before it determines whether it should enter into that particular market, that it engineers or designs its products in such a way that it can meet the target cost. So if Canon wanted to challenge Xerox in early 1980s, it had to fix its target price at USD 1000. And at that time, Canon was selling as the least expensive copier at several thousand US dollars. So, if Canon had attempted to reduce the cost of existing models radically by making changes to the existing models, it would have met with failure because a sudden drop in price is also of equal importance, and it raises a number of questions. Why is the company doing it? So Canon engineers had to meet the challenge by reinventing cheaper copiers. So they kept the existing copiers pricing more or less the same, and over a period in time, they weaned off those products. But in a short-term measure, what they did is they came up with cheaper models which could meet, other competitors in the market. So that is known as the market approach. So we have seen the cost approach and the market approach in terms of the pricing determination. Then we are talking in terms of distribution strategy. So in a distribution channel link, there are customers and there are producers. As we know, producers are the first level of the link, and the end of the value chain, we have the customers who are the end users. So a firm operating in an international market distributes its products either directly or indirectly. It distributes directly through a foreign firm or indirectly through an intermediary. We have already talked about the intermediaries in the previous lesson when we spoke of both indirect intermediaries and direct intermediaries. So, indirect intermediaries are those who are based in your host country, and direct intermediaries are those which are hosted in the host country or the country of international supply. So, an international marketer should not try to change the existing distribution in the host country because each country has its own unique distribution system, and that gets evolved over a period in time. For example, if you talk in terms of the distribution system in Japan, it is considered generally a very old-fashioned, complex, cumbersome, and inefficient system compared to many other countries. Similarly, in India also, if you see in terms of the number of intermediaries that are available in a local market, if you were to take bulk drugs as an example, or even you take certain FMCG products, fast moving consumer goods, then also you see that it is a very, very complex process. However, in certain countries, it is a very simplified or more easier in terms of the distribution and logistics options that are available. So this is particularly seen in developed countries which have more levels of distribution, and there are specialty stores, there are supermarkets, there are more department stores, and there are also stores in the rural areas, particularly if you consider a company, say, a country like Japan. However, MNCs operating in Japan need not attempt to change the distribution system radically. What they need to do is make efforts to fit into the country's established distribution channels. So, if we are entering into Japan, we cannot change the system and say that in India, which is our country of origin, we work in a certain distribution and logistics manner, and we would like to implement the same format in an international market. It will not work accordingly. So we need to adapt our distribution also to the local markets. So we are using perhaps a different system in our own home country, but adopting an entirely different format in an international market. So next one is the promotion strategy. So promotion is defined as communication by the firm to its target audience. And why is it done? To inform and influence your customers. So there are two important elements that are to be considered. One is information and second is influence. So any communication has to primarily drive these two factors, information and influence. So, international promotion is concerned with the management of promotion in different countries. So, international different is of course different from that of domestic promotion. And we have talked about it earlier. This could be in terms of communication, it could be in terms of target audience, it can also be in terms of the audience goals and the company's goals, which have to be aligned together. So, an international advertising program faces two sets of constraints. And what are they? The first one is the internal environment of the company, and second is the international environment. So promotion in international markets is more difficult than promotion in domestic market because of the differences in the demographic factors like age, gender, socio-cultural, political factors, the lifestyle, the languages, the government controls, the media availability, the economic differences, the local distributors, and the availability of agencies to promote your products. Therefore, in some companies, they take factors like personal selling, which involves direct personal contact. So, whenever human interaction is involved, cultural factors come into practice. So, personal selling is relatively more cultural bound than impersonal advertising. Because if you are going to sell in Japan, you may not know the language fully, but it is definitely important that if you know the language, you can make a better mark or have a translator who will be able to make the connect. At the same time, the way they do business in Japan is very different from the way that we do business in India, both in terms of our approach, our dressing, our time sense, our commitment to meetings. So there is a lot of cultural variation that occurs. And when we are particularly talking about personal selling, because you're meeting our customers directly, either online or offline, we need to be even more sensitive to how they are going to accept our approach to their business needs. So, different constraints characterize different countries. For instance, in Saudi Arabia, it is difficult to find qualified sales representatives because A, there is a labor shortage. Second, there is a lower status of selling profession, so not many actually prefer to go into selling profession. Whereas in India, if we were to consider, Salesforce management is difficult because of different languages, the different caste systems, the different regional requirements, the huge variation in terms of the approach, even within the same country. So the next one that we'll be talking about is the product life cycle or market life cycle. So when we talk about product life cycle or PLC, we are saying as a general approach that the analysis is a very critical tool in the hands of an international marketer. So a typical product goes through four stages at the national level or the international level. The first level is, of course, the introduction. Second is the growth. Third is maturity, and the fourth one is decline. Now, depending on the product, in which stage of its product introduction it is there, what are the factors that need to be considered, what are the competitors doing, how mature is the market, what is the life cycle that is the competitors products in which stage they are in, which stage are we in, are we an early entry, are we a late entry, has the market already saturated? That means a sizable chunk of the market has already been taken by certain people. So, all these factors need to be considered when we are talking in terms of international market. So, the product life cycle is not only dependent on just the stage at which we are introducing our product, but also dependent on multiple other factors that we have just talked about. So, it helps us to get a better understanding of how to manage their profitable products and also eliminate the unprofitable ones. So, as the product moves from one stage of life cycle to another, marketers need to evaluate and adjust strategies for promoting, pricing, and distributing the products. So, in a very brief way, if we were to look at it as an early, introducer to a particular product in an international market, we may have two approaches. One is we may decide to introduce a product at a very high price because there are not many competitors. We are more or less, having a monopoly of the market, and then gradually bring down the price. Or if we enter at a later stage because we want to match what the competitors are offering, we may want to lower our prices to match that of competitors and the local consumer and government expectations. So the four stages of product life cycle. In the first stage, we have the introduction, which is the product when it's actually introduced in the market. So we need to understand and clearly differentiate here that when we are talking about introduction, it is not the introduction of the product per se, but the introduction of our product to the international market. For example, if we were talking earlier about copiers and we are talking about Xerox and Canon, it is not when, say, Xerox is entering Canon's market segment, it is not in terms of whether the market of our product is already introduced in the market. It is very important to understand whether competitors are already there. So when you're talking about introduction, we are talking about introduction of our product to the market because we are talking about our product life cycle. So in the introduction stage, the product is introduced in the market and it goes through a stage of a little difficulty. And why is that? Because only a few sellers can afford the technological know-how, the marketing and other costs to launch the product, and the risk of new product failure is quite high. So the introduction stage is marked by zero or sometimes negative profit, or even if there is a profit, the amount is very negligible in terms of sales. So this is because initial revenue generated is very low and promotional expenses are at the highest because you are introducing a new product into the market. So you need to inform the customers about the product. You need to induce a product trial. Of course, not every product can have a product trial. If you are selling washing machines abroad, you would not talk of product trial. You would talk about actual sale because the customer is not going to buy a product and trial it and then say, okay, I'll buy another washing machine, right? But if you were to talk about products like, say, cosmetics or apparel, then if they find that it is a good match for for their requirements, then definitely they will want to buy more and more of those products. We also need to understand that there has to be a security in terms of the distribution in retail outlets, because sometimes the distributors may decide to not sell your products or discontinue the selling of your products or supply of your products after a point in time. If they are retailers, if the challenges are even more, because they may find that your products are unnecessarily taking up a lot of shelf space, but they are not actually selling in the international market. So these are factors that need to be considered. Then the next one is the growth. The introduction stage is followed by the growth stage. The growth stage is crucial for the product survival in the market because the reactions of the competitors to the product's success will affect the product's life expectancy. The stage is characterized by increase in sales, heavy demand for the product, and peaking of profits. So this is in a way a very good stage to be in. New firms enter the market in the growth stage. They're attracted by promising opportunities in the market. They introduce new product features and a wider distribution network. Companies increase the level of promotional expenditure to meet the competition. So the profit of the firm initially increases as promotional costs get spread over a larger volume of sales of the product. And also the manufacturing cost per unit falls. This is, we know how it drops after a point in time. So at a later phase in the growth stage, which is the maturity stage, the profits begin to decline as competition increases, and therefore the company has to both lower its prices and spend more on promotion. Then finally, we go to the last stage, that is the fourth stage of decline. So, in a decline stage, the sales and profits of the almost all products and goods are at their abysmally low level. That means they tend to decline. Some products experience a faster drop or rate of decline, whereas some have a more slower incline in terms of the sales reduction. The reason for decline in sales could be based on multiple factors. It could be in terms of technological advances, it could be increase in competition, it could be in a shift in consumers' tastes and preferences, etc. Today, if you are seeing in terms of the international market, a lot of prominence is being given to environmental factors and the disruption to the environment based on the products that we are selling. So, if a company finds that it is selling, organic products versus chemically induced products, the chances that organic products will take a higher place in a consumer's market, because one, it has a higher environmental consideration. Second, it also satisfies a consumer's commitment to the environment. But we also see that if certain organic products, and now we find that even cosmetics, for example, they have started selling organic products or herbal products or Ayurvedic products, which they say is far safer than chemically produced products. But the consumer also has certain other considerations. For example, the pricing may be different or even far higher for an environmentally supportive product versus a non-environmentally supportive product, because chemicals are definitely far cheaper as compared to organic products. Or if you were to take, since we have mentioned apparel a few times, if you were to take handlooms versus powerloom saris, and we were to export them, then we know that the cost of producing handloom saris would be far higher than those of loom, because power looms are manufacturing at a much faster pace. The cost of production is lower because the manufacturing cost is lower. There's a lot of automation that is possible, The cost of resources and raw material is lower for power looms, whereas in the case of hand looms, they're hand manufactured one by one. There's a lot of waft and weft factors that need to be considered. Sometimes even producing a single sari may take a month or several weeks, in some cases even a year or more. So this is just one example. However, we see this battle between handloom and power loom, even multiple things like table mats, runners, jute, bags. So whether if it is leather, there is a certain cosmetic treatment that needs to be done, the chemical treatment that needs to be done before it can actually be used to manufacture bags or shoes. So these are multiple things that need to be considered. So if a customer is beginning to prefer one product over the other because of the change in technology or new products being introduced, or the same products but with a different twist are being introduced, easier supply or cheaper cost, there has to be a consideration in terms of the gradual decline of your products as well. So, in terms of the international product policy, a marketing manager has to make product decisions in order to arrive at a product mix or product line. So, what is a product mix? A mix is when I'm manufacturing multiple things. For example, a product line is all the cosmetics that a company is manufacturing is a product line. But I may have different products. I may have shampoos as well. I may have soaps as well. So each of these will become a product line depending on the company's strategy. So there can be multiple product lines. So each product line will have multiple or single product. So it's a very complex matrix. It is like watching the movie matrix, and where there are multiple options that are available. So a product line versus a product mix is also a similar matrix that we need to consider. So, product decisions in the context of international marketing means designing the product mix and deciding on the product line in the host country. So, what am I going to offer internationally? Because by and large, foreign markets are characterized by strong competition. And this is very fundamental, isn't it? If I'm looking at introducing my product in an X market, now I'm seeing a deep market opportunity in that market. So if I, as a business, am able to see that marketing opportunity, then it is for sure that not only the companies from my own host country, but like we said, three levels, right? Companies from my own host country, companies from other countries, and companies from the host country also will be competing in the same space. So that is why there will be a lot of competition. The competition is very, very strong. So a careful review is necessary before a product decision is made. So in terms of the product mix, let us try to understand the various aspects of a product mix. So we say it is all the products at a very, very basic level. We say it is the product mix is a set of all products that an organization offers its clients. So if we were to take the case of Hindustan Unilever Limited or HUL, it offers detergents, shampoos, hair care products, cosmetics, beverages, healthcare products, ice creams, etc. So it's a huge range of products that the company is trying to offer. So product mix consists of all the product mix lines and categories. So it has certain characteristics, and let us try to understand what each of them are. There are factors like product width, the length, and the consistency. So what is the width? When we in a product mix, when we talk about a width, it is the number of total product lines that a company carries. We talked about detergent, that is one product line, soaps, second product line, cosmetics, third product line, hair care products, fourth product line, beverages, fifth, so on and so forth. So what is the length? The length is it is literally the length. So when we are talking about width, we are going this way in terms of each product line. When we are talking in terms of length, we are talking across one product line. So the length of the product mix is the total number of items in that mix. So the average length of a line is obtained by dividing the total length by the number of lines. Okay. So if I'm having say 5 lines and I have 40 products being offered across those 5 lines, then I'm more or less determining an average product length. And then we have depth. What is the depth? The depth of the product mix is the assortment of sizes, colors, and variations offered for each product in that product line. For example, a shampoo may come in 3 volumes: 50 ml, 100 ml, 150 ml. We also, in a rural setup, or even in an urban setup, we now also talk in terms of sachets, we talk of tubes, we talk of gels for shampoo. So there are multiple variations that occur. So this is called as the depth. So in hair care products, which is the product line, one product line, in that if you're talking about only shampoo as one product, because there can be oil, there can be multiple other things, right? Conditioners, etc. So the depth is fundamentally the assortment of sizes, colors, and variations in that particular product that is being offered in that product line. And then, of course, an equally important aspect is the consistency. So, what is this consistency about? Consistency refers to the closeness exhibited by the product line in production requirements, distribution, and end usage. So, if you were to again consider the same example of HUL, their product lines are more or less consistent as they are fast moving consumer goods, FMCGs. They are distributed with the same channels of distribution and are produced in similar manufacturing facilities. So, therefore, you will not see much of variation. There is a high level of consistency across HUL products. And again, if we were to look at it in more deeper consideration, we also find that these products have been tried and tested in the domestic market over a long, long period in time. In fact, even in an international market, they have been tried and tested for a very long time. That means the product has been in the market for very long. That is why the company is able to reach a certain level of consistency. We'll also be talking briefly about product lines, though we have talked about it in terms of the product mix. In terms of a product line, we say a product mix consists of a number of product lines. So, marketers normally develop a basic platform that the product around which additional features and models can be built. So it offers variety in the product. It also at the same time reduces the production cost because the base product remains the same. The majority of raw materials remain the same. Maybe certain specific flavors or certain specific ingredients may vary a little. For example, if you are talking in terms of toothpaste, primarily the company will find the same inputs going into manufacturing a toothpaste. However, there may be some slight differences in terms of whether it is mint based or clove based or some other charcoal based ingredients. So, this slight variation may happen. So, Bata is an example where it has a range of 1150 product lines. That's a huge number, right, by any standards. So, Bata is able to offer a wide range of products under the men's range, if we were to consider, accounting for 20% and women's segment accounting for 18% of its total footwear range. Then, after analyzing the product line, the managers need to take decisions about the length of the product line, its modernization, and its pruning. So, is it really necessary to offer 1150 products to the end consumers, or do we need to consider and descale or reduce the scale of our products based on what kind of market opportunities are there and what is the share of the products, and is it really making a deep consideration and a deep contribution into our end profits. So, competition and international marketing strategies. The phenomenon of globalization of market and consumption is relatively nascent. The global marketplace has developed a number of factors. One is explosive growth in world's gross domestic product, particularly in developed countries. Second, there is a rapid expansion in merchandise trade. There is exports and traders who are reflecting a new demand for goods from affluent customers. The third one is in terms of cost cutting and improvement of product quality by companies which are seeking competitive advantage. This results in the growth of large corporations with worldwide operations. A revolution in manufacturing, distribution, and product quality control further enhances the company's position in these large corporations. So there is also a revolution in the communication strategy. Today, it is all about, or I would say, a major chunk of marketing and promotion is about social media presence. So, what is the company's contribution to the social media in terms of its marketing budgeting? How much of it is being leveraged through social media in terms of reaching out to the end customers or even the wholesalers and retailers? How are you using the tools available in the latest communication technology like websites, etc., in reaching out to apps, etc., in reaching out to consumers. Now, if you were to talk about even say as uh, back as just 5 years, most companies did not have a website. Today, even if they are into industrial manufacturing, they feel the need to have a website to be able to reach the global market. So there are other significant factors which need to be considered. For example, growth of large pools of liquid funds and more efficient capital markets help to employ and being able to employ them quickly will contribute to the company's growth. There is also an improvement that we have seen in terms of the financial, the logistics, and business management techniques. Because if you see in terms of logistics, as more and more companies are making their presence felt in an international market, the logistics have improved because there are more companies which are testing out and giving feedback and trying to not only simplify but also strengthen the logistics process. So, the ease with which technology is being transferred globally and introducing new products into the global competition has become a lot easier now than it was, say, even a few years ago. We don't even need to go back to a decade. So, United States, for example, leads in IT related products and retail. Whereas if we talk in terms of Japan, its strength lies in transportation equipment and electronic products, including cameras. This is something that is known to all of us. British companies are strong in the areas of publishing, consumer goods, and banking. Chemicals, automobiles, machinery, and optics are the strong point of Germany. The reason we are talking about all this is because this helps us to understand how developed countries have grown their market in certain products and focused on those products over a period in time. So they have made a strong entrenchment in the international market based on these products. So today, whenever we are talking in terms of machinery, we still talk of Germany or Japan to a certain extent because we believe that these countries have over a period in time developed strong technology. You talk about automobiles, you're talking about certain European countries which have made a lot of presence. But over a period in time, we see that certain cars, for example, from Korea or from Japan or from the Europe or even US, have made a dent in the local market. So, according to Michael Porter, corporations should seek long term investors and give them a voice in governance. So when we are talking about a voice in governance, we are not talking about governance as a nation's government, but we are talking in terms of governance as in terms of a company's management. So a manager's compensation should be linked to the firm's competitive position. So improving worker training products in the company, collaborating with local educational institutions will help develop better worker training programs, promoting managers with skills so that they're able to deal well in international or global markets. At the same time, we see a lot of premier educational institutes like the IITs and IIITs and the IIMs, which was invest a lot in not only doing basic research but also in research collaborations with industries so that they can bring a certain level of technology, a certain level of research into certain products so that they are better prepared. The companies are better prepared to enter into international market. And at the same time, we also need to understand that if we are talking in terms of being able to sustain in the long run, it is just not a matter of having the right strategies in place, but also adopting different strategies. It could be cost leadership, it could be differentiation and focus strategies based on their capabilities and objectives. The four countries that we have spoken about and how they have each developed their strength in certain products, and that has been sustained over a period in time and has therefore made them market leaders in those particular businesses. Then we also have cost leadership, which is fundamentally where we are saying it is a strategy which was very prevalent in the 1970s. The It is like the experience curve concept. So, according to this concept, organizations can achieve overall cost leadership in the industry by using a set of functional policies. So the cost leadership demands construction of efficient scale facilities, tight cost, overhead controls, avoidance of small customer accounts, and focusing on large customer base, minimization of costs like service, advertising, research and development, either investing or reducing depending on your company's policy and how much it is contributing to the overall product development, the sales force, etc., etc. The second one is in terms of the differentiation. As the very word implies, differentiation is how unique you are in the marketplace. So what is your product offering that is can be easily differentiated either on the basis of design or brand image. For example, when we talk in terms of Mercedes in automobiles or technology, for example, Macintosh in stereo components, Coleman in camping equipment, maybe a MacBook um, in terms of a computer. So customer service like Crown and Cork and Seal in metal cans, dealer network, Caterpillar tractor, or features like GNED in electric ranges. So there are a number of such companies which are existing and which are made its mark in the international market already with its product offering. So the next one is in terms of differentiation. This strategy aims at creating a product or service that is considered as unique in the marketplace. That means not many are either offering them or not offering them in the same format or offering them on a descaled version, or there are no competitors at all. So, moving from that differentiation, we are moving to the next aspect, that is the focus. So, in focus, a firm focuses on a particular buyer group, segment of the product line, or geographic market. Then we say that it is a very focused approach. For example, when we are talking in terms of North American Trading Organization or NATO, the company may decide to first introduce its product in North America, see how it works, and then move to other members of NATO. Similarly, in Asia, the company may choose to introduce its products to one particular country like Japan, and then see how the product moves in that particular market and what are the challenges it faces before it introduces it into some other market. So, with this, we come to the end of today's session. In terms of consumers, we also need to understand the last leg of it, which is perhaps the most critical component of this entire international marketing, because when it starts with producers, it also ends with consumers. So, a consumer is a person who buys goods and services for his own needs and not for resale or for use in the production of other goods for resale. So the definition of a consumer remains the same whether we are talking in terms of a local market or we are talking in terms of an international market. So, in some customer segments, customer needs and interests are very homogeneous. That means they're very similar. Whereas in other segments, they may be very heterogeneous. That means the same product cannot be offered in different regions. If you take India as a country, we know that it is a very heterogeneous marketplace. But if you were to take Asia Pacific, you again know that though it is forming a large block of trading, however, the nuances and the requirements of each country within this trading block, is very, very different from each other. Then we also have the government actions, which we have talked about at length earlier. So there are, particularly when we talked in terms of communication and promotions, advertising. For example, British government is very, very particular about certain products which are being offered online on TV. Particularly, they do not want products which are harmful for kids, either in terms of high fat content or in terms of junk food or products which do not really have a substantial nutritional base. So they have regulated the advertisements of such products on national TV, which are not
Madam, time over, madam.
yes. Yes, sir. So production resources, we'll be talking about production resources that are meant for production of goods. These include human resources,
Hello?
materials, and
Time
sir,
over,
one
madam.
second, sir, please don't interrupt. 1 second, please. I know.
Time over.
Sir, 1 second, sir. So planning in third world countries, controlling the marketing report, and then finally we move to the summary.